Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stampin' Up with Jaimie. This is my Wednesday night Facebook Live tutorial. So if you're catching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Below you'll find a link to my blog as well as a link to my store where you can find all the product that I'm using tonight. I am featuring a card that actually I'm inspired by a magazine that we receive as Stampin' Up demonstrators. Stampin' Up sends out a quarterly magazine to us, and it's full of lots of information and tips and tricks. And I pulled this one. It's not exactly how Stampin' Up did it, but the colors and the overall design is pretty much a case from them. If you're not familiar what a case is, it stands for it stands for copy and selectively edit. There we go. Took me a little bit. I knew it would come. So I pulled this from them. You know, they know what they're doing. They have an eye for design, an eye for color. So I figured I would just be inspired by them. I am seeing that you can see this. Let's see if I move some of this out of the way. I positioned my camera a little farther up than I normally do. I'm kind of trying something different. So if you're thinking that zoomed in is better as opposed to a little bit more zoomed out like I have tonight, please let me know and I will adjust that next week. I'm just kind of playing around a little bit tonight. Hi, Michelle. Good evening. Hi, Jean. Hello, hello. Who else? Okay. So let's just get started tonight. This is what the card looks like up close. You may not have noticed from far away, but it's got this kind of stitched detail in here, and I'll walk you through how I did that. And then kind of the showcase here, the star-winning design is this little bit here that I made using the nested stitch dies. And again, I'll walk you through exactly how I went about doing that. So let's start off. I have our Night of Navy cardstock, and this is 4 1/4 by 11, scored here at 5 1/2. And I gotta get my bone folder. And I went ahead and already cut out the stitch details in it. I don't know, I'm hoping the light can kind of sort of catch it for you. But those come from the Stitched Labels Framelits. They were a returning product, and they're beautiful. And when you get them, you may open it like this and say, I don't see those dies that you used. And that's exactly what I did. I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't get everything. Hi, Amy. Hi, Terry. But you flip it over, and there's more in the back. So this guy here is what I used to kind of put the impression into the cardstock here, the Night of Navy cardstock. There's kind of like a flatter end, and then it almost looks like, I don't know, a state or something. And then like this kind of pointy end. That's how I did the first one. Oh, no, I guess I didn't. I did it that way. Just kidding. I did it the flat end on top and the pointy end on the bottom. And then you're going to see it kind of leaves like this little curved part here. And then if you flip it around, it kind of nests into each other. I hope that makes sense. So like this kind of curved part kind of fits perfectly with that kind of curved part. So it doesn't line up perfectly. There is kind of like a little gap here on the top and bottom, but for the most part, it's a kind of continuous stitched image. And that just adds some nice detail into the card. Very subtle. You know, you kind of have to look at it to see it. But just like an embossing folder kind of adds a nice little detail, I think so that kind of background stitched image does as well. And actually, believe it or not, this is the first time I'm using it. I don't know why I haven't in the past. It's really pretty, but lesson learned for sure. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is create my sentiment here. And comes from the beautiful friendship stamp set. The sentiment here is this one here, birthdays are the best days. I just think that's just a great, great sentiment. How fun. And then the kind of background flower that I'm stamping behind it is this guy here. But this is top, but oops, did I cut out for a little bit? Oh boy. But I think I just am having a hard time not using it. I just want to keep using it over and over again. It's really pretty. just these floral images. Goodness, they're just gorgeous. You can do them in so many different colors, layer them up. You can fussy cut them out. Really pretty for feminine, soft cards, birthday cards, congratulations, or just kind of like a nice hello. So that's what I'm using. First, I'm going to stamp the floral image, which I pointed out, it's that double floral, this one here. I'm going to stamp it in crushed curry. So my colors are Night of Navy and crushed curry. And we're going to start with the crushed curry. And I have kind of a scrap piece of Whisper White here. It's hard to tell exactly the size that I need because you kind of cut it down. So better safe than sorry, I'm kind of starting off with a big piece. And I won't need it this big, but at least I know it'll be big enough. So stamp the floral image. Keep in mind that with our new ink pads, they're going to stamp a little darker than the I froze for you. Yeah, I saw it on my end, Terry. Sorry, I guess I lost the internet for a little bit. I hope I'm back on. If not, I apologize. Let me know if you hear me and I'm live. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Okay. So they're going to stamp a little darker. Just give it time. And as the ink dries, it will lighten. It's not going to stay quite as dark because I stamped the crushed curry and I was like, whoa, that's really dark. But then as it dried, it definitely lightened. So I'm going to take the Night of Navy and I'm going to stamp the sentiment directly over it. Again, it's the birthdays are the best days. I think that just makes for such a fun sentiment, fun birthday. And kind of funny enough, these two colors together almost look like masculine to me, like you could make a masculine card. So if you take the floral out of it and used, I don't know, some sort of different background as opposed to a flower, I feel like this design could easily adapt to a masculine birthday card or a masculine just card in general, which is always nice to have something that's versatile because obviously masculine cards can be a little on the tricky side. Okay. So next, I'm going to cut it out. I'm using the nested stitched dies. These are new to the annual catalog. Let's see here. Stitched nested dies, nested labels dies. That is such a tongue twister. And there's a whole bunch of them. Look at that. Oh, gorgeous. If you don't have these yet, these are an absolute must in my book. They stitch the inside as well as the outside, so the negative and the positive, and I can show you that once I cut it out. So you're going to take your whatever die cutting machine you happen to use, and first I'm going to cut it out the kind of top portion. So obviously I don't need it this long, but I'm kind of seeing where I want it on the top, and that's how I'm positioning the die itself. Okay, and then I'm going to run that through your die cutting machine. I'm going to do it off screen here, sorry. And then when you get that through, you should be able to pop this up, and that's trash. And you're left with this image. Obviously my sentiment is a lot smaller. I don't need it that far down. So, oh, I did it wrong. Oh, I did it wrong. I totally did it wrong. Hold on. So I'm looking at that going, that's not right. Hold on. I need another scrap piece of paper. That's hysterical. Hold on. Don't do what I just said. I got to cut this down. Hold on. That's what I did the first time around and I did it wrong. So if you did it the way I was going to say, you end up with this image, which is fine, except you have the stitched detail running off the end of the card. And that's fine. Probably no one would notice it. But there's an easier way to go about doing it. So let's just quickly restamp our flower. I cannot believe I did that. That's really funny. Okay. Stamp our flower. Good thing my stamps are already inked up. Stamp our sentiment. I'm just going to dry that a second. Hold on. I'm just going to heat set this for a second because I don't want the blue turning green. It's got to be dry. Okay. So this one goes over it. Okay, let's try this again. So what you're going to do is not what I did before. You're going to take your die, line it up. That was correct. Now, when I run it through my Big Shot or die cutting machine, you're not going to run it all the way through. You're not going to completely cut it out. I'm going to run it till about halfway down the sentiment and then stop. That's how I made my mistake. You're not supposed to cut it out all the way. Just run it halfway down the sentiment or whatever you happen to be cutting out. Okay. So hopefully it works this time. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so see how that's only halfway down? It's like sticking out, but it's not totally cut through. You're gonna flip it over and you're gonna kind of find the groove for the stitched. Hopefully I can find it, or else I'll be doing a third take on this. Okay. There we go. I found it. It kind of like fits in the groove. Like I can't move that anymore because all the stitched are kind of stuck in the previously cut out image. Does that make sense? I hope so. And that's kind of a good size. I don't need it much longer. And then when I run it through your die cutting machine again, you're only going to go to about halfway through the sentiment and stop. Okay. Hopefully this works. Oh boy. We're only going to go halfway. And hopefully it cuts it out. Ta-da! Okay, so that's the key, is only to go halfway through. If you go all the way through like I did with this one with my oops, if you like run it all the way through, flip it around, line up the stitches again and run it through again, it'll turn out fine. I mean, probably no one would notice, but you have these stitched lines that kind of run off the edge of it. You can tell like it was a continuing stitch. Whereas if you do it like this, you don't have those running off edges. It stops. It's like, it looks like its own shape. It looks like it's supposed to be this size and this shape. I can't believe I did that. That's funny. Okay, so next I have a piece of vellum cardstock. This was cut at 1.5 by, let's see here, 3 1/4. And I'm going to use the triple banner punch and put it through and punch. So I have a nice banner to that. And I'm just going to adhere that down. Whoops, come on. Why isn't that working? This is what happens when I don't do a video in a while. There, let's try this again. No. There we go. Woo! I kind of have it where that seam is between the two stitched ones that I cut. And I adhered the adhesive kind of generously straight in the middle because I know that's going to cover that. You can see it here. You can see where I put the adhesive, but my sentiment's going to cover that, so that's no problem. And then I took some of the crinkled crushed curry ribbon. And I need a pair of scissors, which, oh, there they are. I knew I had a pair around here somewhere. I'm going to cut it long. And this stuff I kind of find that's a little hard to cut. So what I'm doing is I kind of make it taut with my fingers and then cut it on an angle. Like that. And that's going to end up being too long, but that's fine. I'm going to kind of liberally, that's a tongue twister, put some adhesive down, some snail, and work the ribbon kind of like a Z. So one way, then I flip it over, adhere it down, flip it over, adhere it down, and then cut it down. I could probably, well, it's probably about 9 inches in total, because that's about 3 inches, and then I did it 3 times. So it's probably, give or take, about 9 inches of ribbon. It's that crinkled ribbon. So you may think it needs to be ironed, but that's actually the way it's supposed to be. That's the look. It was on purpose. And I'm going to just adhere that over with some dimensionals, which I forgot to pull out. Where are they? And I'm going to avoid all the middle, so I'm just going to put my dimensionals on either side, on the top and then on the bottom. and aim for straight right over that ribbon, like so. And then lastly, what I did is from that same Stitch Labels framelets. No, they're not framelets anymore. This is an old packaging. Stitch Labels dies. There's this cute little heart. He's really, really cute. So I took him and I cut 3 of those hearts out from Crushed Curry cardstock. And if you can see, they just have a very faint little stitch all the way around the outside of them. Super cute. Again, kind of keeping in the theme of the stitch dies. So I have like stitched in the background, I have the stitched sentiment, and now I'm adding the stitched hearts. So it's kind of like continuous and all works together. And these colors are really pretty. If you know me, I usually never use yellow. I actually really don't like yellow. Oops. Oh my, I put that upside down. However, I love this color combination. The Crushed Curry with the Night of Navy. I think it's just a very rich look to it. And the yellow, it's not like a super bright yellow. Kind of like an earthy yellow. Okay, so that's how you do that. So again, just to go over it in case I really confused anyone. When you cut out an image, you're gonna run it halfway through. Don't go all the way through. Then flip it over and then run it halfway through. So put it on, run it halfway through, flip it over, find the grooves. You gotta kind of line up the grooves for it to catch. Once it catches, run it halfway through again. If that's too complicated, then just completely cut it out, turn it over, match up the grooves, and completely cut it out. Again, this is the image you'll get, which is, it's not bad. No one will probably notice anything about it, but this is just a little bit cleaner looking, I guess is how I would describe that. Okay, so that's tonight's card. Super easy. What's nice about this technique is you can really adapt to any sized image that you're working with. So obviously I needed something this width, but I didn't need that length. So you could really actually make like a super little label, or you could take any size of those labels and really kind of condense them down to the length that you need. It's very kind of makes everything more versatile. So that's tonight's card. If you've been watching and you haven't left a comment of some sort, and you'd like a chance to receive tonight's, go ahead and just make some sort of comment on this post, and at the very end I'll draw a name. So that's it for tonight. I will be back next week. I have nothing going on next week. I'm so happy that I'll be able to join you again as well. So have a good night, everyone, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.